Welcome back to another episode of the Shared Voices podcast, brought to you by the 1042 Project. And we are still at the Academy. They haven't kicked me out yet, so we're good right now. We got two interviews done, and I really think they were impactful. I was really impressed with the openness of all of you guys and the staff here and the leadership here to be willing to talk. I think that's pretty cool. And so if you didn't get to check out the last two episodes of that since we've been at the Academy, go back and check those out. But this one's going to be a fun one too. I wanted to bring in a different aspect that I unfortunately cannot speak to, and that's okay. I am a male, and in this line of work, the female side brings different challenges to it that honestly some of us guys don't even understand or know. So I'm not going to pretend to know what you guys go through. I've worked with a lot of females throughout my career. Worked with some amazing women. But even though how well I got to know them and got to see them work throughout their careers and how they handled themselves, I still don't know what it was like. So number one, let's just start with introductions, and then we're going to go there. I got so many questions that are going through my head right now. So let's just start off with the assistant director.
Hi, I'm Sherry Poole, and I'm the assistant director here at ILEA.
Thank you for allowing us to come in.
Yeah.
You are a part of the command staff here.
Yep.
And I love how you guys lead this place and you see it through your staff.
Yeah, for sure. We're very lucky to work alongside them. I don't feel like we're a top-down organization. I think we lead within, and that's a mark of a good police officer or somebody in service leadership.
Well, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You guys are very relational here. I think that's kind of neat. Mm-hmm. You care about the person.
Yep.
You guys are in the people business.
Yep.
And you do it well.
Yes.
And I know it's hard because we deal with hard things. People come here and sometimes they don't make it through the academies. There's different struggles, relationship issues, things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you guys are addressing it and are being open and allowing, that you're allowing these people a safe place to start their career where they can start, meeting with Al or us and start addressing some of these issues they have coming into their career that they're not carrying in, and to talk about how to have healthy relationships and all that. So thank you for doing that. I know that's intentional. That's not just something by accident that happens out here, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, we got three guests here, so let's go ahead and introduce the second one. You got a big old smile on her face.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Brooke McPherson. I am a general instructor at the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy.
General instructor. So does that mean that does a general instructor mean that you just kind of fill in everywhere? Not really fill in, but you teach more than one thing? Or what? So what is that role? Do we have specific roles here at the Academy?
I do teach some classes, and then I help kind of layer, so with other instruction. There's a lot of hands on deck in some of those areas, like drivers training and defensive tactics. So I will be present and kind of oversee or watch to make sure that the recruits are getting things.
Yeah, that's awesome. How long have you been here? You're new, aren't you?
I am.
I'm thinking, I don't know if I've seen you out here.
No, this is my first official session. So,
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
I mean, the instructor roles out here are not just positions that anybody just feels like it's a calling. You have to have a calling on your life to do what you guys do, and I thank you for that. Were you ever a first responder?
Yes, I worked at the Ames Police Department for 17 years.
Okay. All right, cool. And Sherry, were you?
I was at the Boone Police Department for 11 years.
Boone Police Department, awesome. Man, that town has a lot of stuff that happens there. Man, it's
It's a great town.
It's a great town.
It's a
I
great
just felt
town.
their law enforcement up there see a lot of things. It's kind of unfortunate sometimes. They're just things that have happened in that town.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful town, though, one of my favorites. All right, then we got our third guest. How are you?
I'm good. I'm Naimah Saadiq. I'm an instructor here as well.
Yeah, and you've been here for how long?
It'll be 4 years in December.
Dang.
Yeah.
I remember you from I think the first time I came here. You always have a smile on your face. Like I came here and kind of like I had nerves, right? Like last time I was here, I was an officer, but I came in here and I think your office is somewhere like towards down there, and your bright smile. Every time I walk in, it's very welcoming.
Oh, I
so thank you.
That. Thank you.
And I've talked to a lot of recruits that come through this academy, and people really admire you. They love having you as an instructor. They speak very highly of you, and just know that means a lot to our organization, how much you care.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And that's what I love about you guys is there's so much heart in this. It's not a factory. It's not a factory of first responders. You guys care about it, and you're very intentional about the process that it goes through. So I want to jump into, and this can go where anybody wants to go. But when I came to the academy, I was 20 years old, obviously a male. I was engaged at the time, and there were so many challenges, relational-wise, at home. I didn't know how to handle it all. It got very ugly. And on the other podcast, you guys have heard me talk about that. But let's talk about some of the challenges, especially when you come to the academy. What is it like when you come to the academy, and what are some of the challenges that you guys may face or have faced that the others may not? Because let's just address the issue. It's a male-dominated field, right? Mostly it's people say, they refer to police officers, hey, guys, right? It's been male-dominated. Luckily, that's shifted, thank goodness, because we need the heart of our female first responder. So coming to the academy, what is it like as a female? And did you go through ILEA?
I did.
What year?
Oh, okay.
Put your calculators away, people.
I know, right? Yes. 1987. So a while ago. And I would say as a female, it was very probably isolating. I would use that word loosely, but it as a female, you don't have quite the interaction with the instructors. At least we didn't back then. And so you relied on, there was 3 other females in my class, so we relied on each other heavily. So that was cool, and you really get those relationships that are lifelong. But it was a different time, also in 1987, and and women were still forging a path. So it wasn't unusual to have one woman in the entire county.
Yeah.
That was a part of everything.
Are you seeing that change?
Yeah, and it's awesome. And since I've even been at the chair here in the last 3 years, we've seen women really increase in the numbers that are going through Basic Academy, which I am just thrilled about, because I too, they were so underrepresented for a long time, and women just bring different skill sets than men do to a mostly masculine field. But the level that women can de-escalate situations and engage in community relations, I think is a skill set that they have that everybody needs. And I think agencies are finally recognizing that, and really it doesn't matter if a female is 5'3" or 6 foot, they can do the job if they're trained properly.
Absolutely. It doesn't, the size doesn't matter. It used to be way back a long time ago in law enforcement. You had to be a certain height. You had to be all these physical things. Luckily that went away. So I'm glad you're seeing that change. And I think it's women like you who went through in the 80s that are paved the way for the younger generation to be able to come in and have a little bit different experience. But I could imagine those 3 people you were with, you probably created a pretty big bond with.
Yeah, for sure.
Because classes are usually around 40, 50?
Yep.
So if you only got 1 or 2 or 3 females, guys are kind of jerks. I'm just going to be real. Like so many of my first responder friends, and I'm sure I did it in my time, sometimes we treat female officers different, right? Let's be real. We do. And it's disgusting. I don't know why it happens, but it's just like when you hire, I've noticed when we hire new officers on our department, when I was working, a new female would come on, and it seemed like people would treat her different than they would the guys. And what I learned was from working with so many of you is, don't treat us different. Like you guys, the most angry I've seen some officers is when on a call, a male will walk up and take over the call and basically kind of tell the female to step aside. And that's not right. That's horrible. I can only imagine what that's feeling like. But are you seeing any of that type of shifting coming in, any of you guys, as far as on the male side? I know my bros we can be harsh. Are you seeing any change?
I think some recruits, they're very open about some males don't empower them or don't give them their due, if you will, and kind of underestimate them, whereas other ones, were very accepting. So I think it ranges both ways today, and that's why I think it's so important, the roles that Brooke and Naimah have, is because they're every day in front of these recruits that are coming in, and they build a camaraderie with the female recruits a lot more than I do. And it empowers them. It empowers the females to see two role models like them that have really been successful, not only in the careers, but post-career. And now they're training all of these officers that are going to go out to their communities.
I love that. I love that. So you started in what year did you start your career?
I graduated from ILEA in 2006.
Okay. So you were class number, you remember?
212.
212, okay. I was class 176.
Okay.
Oh, me? Yeah, I graduated in 2009. I was
Okay.
class 229.
229.
Yeah.
So we all went through Iowa Law Enforcement Academy then. Okay. No out-of-staters or did anybody do the brief academy, the 8-week one? Okay. Went through the whole thing.
Yeah.
When you came through, was it 3 females to a class? Or are the numbers going up?
I had more than 3 females.
Oh, good.
And I guess I did have a little bit of a different experience, to be honest. I don't remember feeling different coming through the academy, being a woman,
Good.
compared to a male. And maybe it was just in that time frame, you're just trying to get through it. And so,
Well, I hope it's changing is the reason why that guys are
but to
pulling
speak
their head
to
out of their butts.
Yeah, to speak to what you're saying, like I can see in the career how it could almost, switch from maybe being too harsh, treating differently, and not allowing them to kind of take that primary role to like almost showing favoritism and almost kind of babying them along, right?
That's got to torque you off. I know used to the female officers I worked with. I mean, torque them off.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of strong women personalities in law enforcement as well. And so sometimes, we want you guys to be kind, right? And we want to be treated respectfully, but we also want, it almost kind of led to a feeling of sometimes you have to perform and sometimes you have to prove something to the males. So
do women square each other up like guys do? I mean, guys, it's immediately we square each other up. Is he going to be the better officer? Is he stronger than me? Is he going to? Are we doing that? Or are you girls are probably we just care, you guys connect and or let's be real. Or can it be ugly?
I think it can't be ugly. I think it depends on personality. Like what type of personality is that person to begin with? I mean, we have very competitive individuals. I'm a competitive individual. I like to improve and better myself, but I'm also like rooting for my girls. So I think it just kind of depends on the personality in the first place.
So let me ask you this: if you're a young girl listening wants to get into law enforcement, is it safe? Do you feel like it's safe?
I feel like it's safe. My experience was completely different because I was the only female in my academy class when I went through back in 2009. And I had no expectations when I came here. I was fortunate that the woman to my left, Brooke, immediately took me under her wing before I even became a law enforcement officer. I was working in a civilian role with Ames PD, and we'd work out and do have a lot of good conversations together, and it made me want to complete it even more because if I get to work along someone like Brooke, who was extremely smart, who was always encouraging, it's like, oh, I can get through it too. So when I got here and realized I'd be the only female, I don't know why I already had the assumption there weren't many female police officers because our agency didn't have a lot. So it wasn't an expectation, but there was a spotlight. I mean, I stand out more than one way, just because of my shining personality. But no, I'm kidding. But I tried to come into it with a positive mindset, and I really think that mindset was created initially at the agency that I came from. And so when I came to the academy, I was going into it with the understanding that I'd be coming back to somewhere where I would work, and everyone knows I like to have fun and fortunately, as you know, here at the Academy, we have class leadership as well. And so I didn't know how unique it was, because when you're it's your experience, you're the only one. I was voted class leader of my class president back in the day.
That doesn't surprise me.
And well, thank you for saying that. But so I didn't know. My experience was completely different. I think that what I have appreciated for having generations and a leader like Sherry now is realizing when you're going through something, not just wanting to fit in, but being able to stand out in a way that your classmates then take on your attributes and learn from you. And it's this transactional relationship instead of this one-sided monolithic view of I'm a female, so this is what you expect, or I'm a male, this is what you expect. And to have me kind of in the middle of that in a leadership role with my class as well, it brought a different dynamic in. And then now as an instructor, having both AD Poole and now Brooke, a really good friend of mine, working, we all have different perspectives. But at the end of the day, I think what we've learned is that we're going to give each other, and my favorite word is grace. And so when they have questions, from the most simple things, just as like their uniform fits, I wouldn't even imagine to talk to a male instructor about how my uniform was fitting or what I'm going through that day personally, because, you know, you don't want to draw that type of attention. But you know, hopefully they feel that we're approachable, and you can say those little nuanced things that people don't think about when it comes to being a female in the job, that we do have a different anatomy, and it is going to require some adjustments, and say for like DT or running or the physical aspects. So
yeah, and I think it's watching the public react with female officers is interesting as well, because I think sometimes they treat the female side way different than they do the guy side. It seems like if a male officer comes up and is firm with somebody, that's a firm, confident officer. But if you come up with that same confidence and voice, you are a beep. and it's weird. One's confidence, and the other one is supposedly considered a beep who's on her beep. And it's like, we don't have to deal with that.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And when we teach command presence, that's a big thing we talk about too, is how do you demonstrate command presence? And if you are in a female role and not appear to be bossy, even if you're saying the same things, there's things that come along, even size, right? For a male officer who's of a smaller stature, being more assertive might appear like, oh, he's got short man syndrome, right?
Yep.
And so we all have unique challenges, but that is something that, you know, we have to consider.
Yeah, that'd be tough. And let's just throw this out there. Women officers get hit on a lot by the public and by sometimes within people in their departments, and that's got to be tough. I never walked around my department and felt like all the women were trying to get my attention and hit on me, but I know the women feel that way. Like, you guys deal with that we don't have to deal with, and sometimes officers can be out of line, and that's got to be uncomfortable in your guys' shoes, especially if it's a command staff or something. You know, as guys, we don't have to worry about that. That's got to be really uncomfortable to deal with in an uncomfortable situation. So how do you guys, I mean, I call everybody guys, just know that. Like, how do you do that in a safe way if you are a female officer? I know we're kind of going way different here, but if you are a female officer and the command staff is part of the problem, what can we do when those issues come up? If somebody's department is treating them different, or what am I trying to say here? And that's fine, we can edit this out. How do you handle yourself in that situation, I guess? Because it's got to be hard, because if every time an officer looks at you or somebody in the street says something to you, if you brought it up to your administration, I know a lot of the administration, a lot of them going to tell you to suck it up, get over it, but it can't be like that. We can't be telling our female officers to suck that up. So when we do have that happen on the street, or if you have it happen in your department, how have you handled with that? How have you seen that handled in-house? And I know it's a touchy subject, but I do know that it happens. And
I think from coaching some of the females that have went through the academy and have had to deal with some of those issues, is coaching them through drawing a line in the sand and being prepared for, if you draw a line in the sand, you're going to be called X, Y, and Z. But if you don't draw a line in the sand, this is what you're going to be called as well. And so you have to really stay true to who you are and not let the rumors or not let what other people are saying about you determine your path. And so I think it's really important that females have mentors. I think it's important anybody has mentors,
Yes.
but it's really difficult for females that are sole in their departments or sole in their counties because they don't have that person they can bounce ideas off of. But some of the bigger agencies have done a phenomenal job with females going back and having mentors by other females. And then if something like that happens, you have somebody that they can talk it through with, okay, this is what I did, or this is what I should have done, and kind of give them ideas of what to say and how to prepare themselves for it.
That's so wise. And your leadership on that for them has to be amazing. Like, because if you've never gone through it, you don't know. And
Right.
to have somebody like you who's been there and had to deal with probably, early on in the
Yeah.
80s where this stuff wasn't really being talked about. It was
Right,
shut up and get your job done. And
Yes.
yeah.
for sure.
I love that you were willing to talk about that openly because it's something that needs to be addressed. And part of the reason why I bring this up is I want to all of the female listeners to know, if you're not a first responder and it's something you're looking into, it's safe, and there's a safe way to do it. There really is, and there's mentors you can bring around you. There is a safe way to do it, and honestly, like anything in our life, it sounds like, Sherry, we got to put boundaries on. We have to put intentional boundaries on that as we start our career. Like, otherwise, you'll cross those boundaries. People will not know what's okay to say or not to say, and sometimes that can be confusing because what was said the first one day was okay, but now it's not. I think when you set those boundaries and you're firm in them and everybody understands those boundaries, it's a little healthier.
Yes, correct. And I do think people miscommunicate those boundaries, and again, we've had strong females come in here and right off the bat, they're like, my job is to get through this academy and be the best officer I want to be. And they don't have time for anything else. And instantly, they're the person that nobody really wants to communicate with, or they're called certain names because of those boundaries. And so it's really, that's why I think it's so important to have females on staff that can talk them through, like, no, you're doing the right thing. You've set your boundaries and you do your job.
So out of the staff here, what's the percentage of women or men? Do we know, like a wild guess?
So we have Naimah and Brooke that are police officers, former police officers that are females, and then we have two other females that were in victim advocate roles.
Yeah.
That are females as well.
Okay, cool. I love that. This academy is not male dominated at all.
No.
Yeah, like when you
No.
come here, it's not a male dominated place, and I love how much that's changed over the years, and I love that like you three are open to talking about it because it's happening. We just need to talk about it, and I think it's pretty cool. So, I don't think where I want to go down on this next road, but what are some of the relationship issues that can come up as a female first responder trying to have a healthy relationship, but yet being in the position where y'all are working, where it is male dominated? There's a lot of danger. There's a lot of, it's got to be different. Like my sweet wife, I couldn't imagine her putting on a uniform and going out. Like, it's got to be hard in those relationships because I'm sure sometimes you have to deal with the person that you're having a relationship with also trying to baby you or trying to. So what is that like? Trying to have a relationship as a female first responder, as a female police officer. Are the issues kind of the same they are with guys, or what is that like? Do you guys walk out the same door? When you walk out the door, is it the same discussions that we're having as we're walking out? I know these are dumb questions, but I got to know.
Well, I would say I was fortunate that my husband was also in law enforcement, or is also in law enforcement.
Okay.
So we worked at the same department.
Huh? That makes it.
We actually worked the same shift
Oh, wow.
before we had kids.
God bless you.
Yeah, that we get that a lot. That, oh man, I couldn't work with my wife or husband. But For us, it worked, and it was a lot of fun when we worked together on shift. So I think that, it was easier for me having a partner that knew the job, knew the people that I was going to be working with or having contact with on a daily basis in our community. And we were able to have conversations about, our cases or our, contacts and stuff. So I have a little bit of different experience than maybe what other women will in law enforcement.
Yeah, and that's a unique dynamic of its own. I couldn't imagine working at the same time with I work with my spouse now, and I love it, love and work with her all the time. But I couldn't imagine being on one side of town while I'm dealing with a drunk and hearing gunshots going off on the other side of town where my wife's at. I couldn't imagine what that must be like. That's a whole podcast in and of itself. Like, wow, that would be scary. So, did you come into the career already having a relationship?
Yeah.
And you don't have to share any of this if you don't want. I just know that most of the stuff we deal with in our organization is relational. It's relationship issues, money issues, mental health issues.
Yeah, and I think relationship issues is a norm for any service industry, and I think that goes out, any first responder, nurses, like anybody that's doing shift work, anybody that has that deals with trauma, and because it's really easy as a first responder, as a police officer, to kind of bury a lot of the stuff that you see, and you want to protect your spouse, whether it's your wife or your husband or your partner or whatever it may be. You want to protect them from what you see. And so a lot of that stays at work and you don't bring it home. And then so you don't have an outlet because your friends may or may not be in the law enforcement realm. And so the more you bury it, the more it bubbles up in ways that you don't realize. And so I think it's really, law enforcement is one of those things like nobody talks about it, or if they talk about it, they make a joke. And, we have a warped sense of humor, and that gets us through the shift, and it makes for great stories. But on the other hand, relationships are just really hard when you can't process the trauma that you see every day, because you're dealing with trauma, you're dealing with dysfunction, and sometimes that dysfunction follows you right back to home.
Yeah, and for us guys, we get to walk out and get in our patrol car, and sometimes don't have to worry about the kids and everything else going on. We kind of have this freedom or whatever. We get to skip out the door, but you guys, okay, guys all the time, but you girls don't get to have that experience. So it's got to be unique when you're also a mother. Or let's talk about that.
So I had my daughter when I was a police officer, and I went back to work 6 or 7 weeks after I had her. And so I was working night shift and going on about 3 or 4 hours sleep a night, thinking I could do it all. I could watch her during the day, and I could work night shifts. And boy, that soon, was a slap in the face that you can't do it all, which is, a ding for if you want to be the greatest mother ever, and all of a sudden you're just like, I'm not doing anybody any good, and I'm actually a danger in my job. Yeah. So you got to start figuring that out as well.
Yeah, 'cause so much of what we do in our line of work, I mean, our kids see it, they're affected by it. We think they're not, but they see it all, they feel it all, and it's got to be hard to walk out, walking out the house knowing that, your mother mind is always on. Your mother mind is always on. That would be a tough, especially working all these different shifts. Like, that would be really tough for daycare, for anything like that.
Sure.
And then, court dates. For me, when I was in it, like, my wife worked from home, like, court date was no issue. I could just go. That'd be completely different if you got 3 kids, and that's just unique challenge.
Yeah. And that's across the board again with any first responders, that you're trying to just balance it all.
Yeah. It is, man.
I want to say from the other side, so I don't have children, but I remember early on feeling like a silent pressure to not have children. Like it was a burden on the agency for like, oh, don't tell me you're going to get pregnant, because you're a young officer, and those comments were going on. Not just in general in life, right? As females are getting into the profession, and then like a pressure of fitting back into your uniform, fitting back into your vest. And I remember thinking like, oh no, I don't want to have to do that. Or watching, a female officer go on like duty and be like stripped of her role as a police officer. And it was almost looked on like this, like I said, like silent burden, like, oh, we've got to cover shifts because they're pregnant. And just recently even having conversations with a female officer around the state who's extremely nervous because they became pregnant and they're, don't know what to do in terms of like their roles because they have a physical function and what that looks like, and navigating the pressure to not have children. And then outside of the state, learning a sergeant struggle of being a female sergeant going on light duty and being stripped of the title, even though there's other desk sergeants, not even being able to like kind of listen to the radio and having conversations like my pregnancy isn't a disability. Like I can still make informed decisions. And so I think now looking back early on, it really guided my decisions and being really nervous about having a child in this profession because there's so many added elements.
Thank you for saying that because that's true. And I've been guilty of it when I was a young officer. When a female officer got pregnant, oh gosh, the shifts are going to change. She's going to go to light duty, of course. Gosh, she just had one last year. What is wrong? She doesn't even like her husband. I'm like, this is what happens. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. That's real. That's a real issue. Sorry. Let me read this real quick. So do you think people are holding off on families probably?
I definitely think people are holding off on family.
Sorry, I can't get off this thought, but yeah.
Yeah. And, even as we see the newer female officers coming through now of when you talk about wanting to show and prove, you don't think about, I know the real pressure is the physical demand. And think about it, as a woman who has a child, your body changes, right? And so how you fit into your vest, like, oh, great, now it's going to cost us another vest. Or now, you got, I didn't even know my assistant director came back 6 weeks later. 6 weeks later, does your uniform even fit the same? Like, do you're, if you're going to breastfeed, I don't know if I could say that.
In the bathroom or the locker room. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I hear stories from, officers that came before me and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to have that added.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Pressure. It really is. The women are thinking that way, that getting pregnant would be a burden.
And so when you talk about relational strain, when you're young and a guy wants to get married or wants to have children and you're like, I just got into my job and I know, I've been asked a lot to leave my profession. And so it's a different type of dynamic, I would say.
Wow. I love you guys' openness to talk about that. I think that's interesting.
I think it definitely limits, how big they want to make their family as well. So just with there being a lot of expectations, right? You're going to court, you have extra training, you may be mandatoried, and so it isn't a normal, 8-hour shift. So that impacts, how many children you might have. My husband and I kind of made that decision. I always wanted to kind of have a larger family. And then with both of us being in law enforcement, once we had kids, we were like ships passing the night because it was cheaper for us to be on opposite shifts than to try to find daycare for really odd hours. So we, saw each other when we were coming home and one was leaving for work. And like you said, Sherry, I remember working overnights and I had, a 3 or a 4-year-old that wasn't going to school yet. And I'd put him on the couch with me and we'd watch cartoons and you'd wake up 4 hours later like, oh my gosh, I fell asleep, but still having to do those, still having to work when you're at home.
This is why God made women stronger, more wise. You guys have all the gifts and talents, and we just kind of got, I don't know what rib you guys took, but it must have been our knowledge rib. I don't know what it is, but you gals are made different. You just are. And I couldn't imagine going through this career with the I don't want to say issues, the things that come with it. Being a human, right? Yeah, and having a family. Yeah. Wow. Well, we're going to close this up, but I do want to do more of these down the road if you guys are open to it. I really appreciate this, but we've gone about 35 minutes, and there's so many more questions I want to ask. This is a good question before we close out. I'll pass me. I don't even know if this is the question, but this is the question I have. Are the vices that we numb our pain with, our struggles, do they change for women? Like with guys, it's very much adrenaline, alcohol, gambling. Yeah, and I notice a lot of female officers are more into their fitness than guys are too. I feel like that's a thing that sometimes fitness is a way of escape. I don't know. Is there any other vices or anything that, like, and when I say that is things we run from, right?
I didn't know this was a vice until working with Chap and talking, and because I never had these conversations before, but I would literally capitalize every second of my day. So I was working patrol, and Brooke knows this. I would leave my patrol shift, and then I was in a full-time band. And so I would travel around and I would play in this band, or I'm going to rehearsals, or I was a backup dancer for another band. So I had this whole separate identity, that I formed. So I didn't really think about, the job. Like I'd deal with something, and then in my friend group, I didn't have, in my friends outside of law enforcement, no one that I talked to about it. And often I'd disappear into these realms where no one even knew I was a police officer. I maybe think was accepting a whole different identity. So I completely separated these lives, and then I take off that uniform and literally forget about the job, and then capitalize. I maybe was sleeping 2-3 hours, and
maybe it was being busy all the time.
Being busy. That's
right?
what it was.
That's another thing.
Busy.
We sign up for all the overtime. It's busy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that was
well, thank you for answering my dumb questions. I'll have more, I'm sure, down the road. But sometimes I like to ask the questions that I hear other men ask me. And so thank you. Yeah. I appreciate it. And we're going to close this up. Thank you for all being on. And we'll be back at the Academy recording some more. I know we kind of just touched on some, we only went an inch deep on a lot of things. But we'll go deeper. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Y'all are a blessing. And thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.